It does. Okay, it does yell at us. Wonderful. It talks about all of those very important pieces and the effects that it's having on not only our school children, our students, but also our adults within the community. There were a large group of individuals have approached me and discussed the pain that they see having their own community say these things. And so that's why I put these into words. I've taken letters that were written to community officials, letters to the editor, various other publishings, cut them down and kind of distilled them into really show what is happening, because there's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of doublespeak in that. They try to make it sound good. But I cut all of that fluff out and said, no, this is the bare bones. Now we need to deal with it as a community. Who's responsible? And so that's what February 11th will be about. And then we will try to bring some levity with an open mic, because Dominique and I never host a serious open mic. So
But this one's so serious. It's so professional.
I mean, yeah. I'm just sitting on a table trying really hard not to flip it. And
I'm drinking cranberry juice.
But I think I've talked a little bit too much about myself. Do you want to introduce yourself, Damo, real quick? And then.
Yeah, I could definitely introduce myself. So my name is Dominique. I go by a lot of different names in this universe because I'm constantly having an identity crisis. Often my friends call me Dama. Amongst poets and friends, I'm often called Dom. So you will hear these three names kind of being tossed about throughout the evening. As Mitchel was kind of saying, I'm getting my Master's of Fine Arts in Poetry in the South, which is a weird place, you know. It's like North Carolina, so it's not exactly South, but it's the beginning of the South, and they all think they're really cool. It snowed and everyone lost their minds. It was tragic. They don't know how to walk in the snow or drive in the snow, and it's very sad. But lovely place, it's just too warm. But kind of more about me and the poetic side, but Mitchel was saying we just had our 1-year anniversary, which is kind of weird. I never thought it would happen. Not that we're not awesome, you aren't awesome, but we did not know we'd make it to a year, considering we both can't count very well. That's what happens when you leave like writers in charge of things that involve numbers. Me and Mitchel have known each other too long. It's been 6 years, 5 years?
6 years, somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah, plus or minus a decade. And I think it's been a wonderful situation. I love his mom and his dad and his dog, all more than Mitchel, of course, because Oakland is kind of the best little boxer. And I'm really excited, though, that we get to share our love of poetry with you all. And also, we've got some cool readers from out of town. One of my friends who's in the MFA program with me is actually going to be reading. You can kind of see them right there on my couch. Then we've also got another one of our poetry mentees, our poetry babies. His name's Alejandro, gorgeous, gorgeous poet. He likes math, and I don't understand why, but also a brilliant writer. So I'm really excited you all get to kind of meet him. Couple of things before we get started, kind of as our poetry housekeeping, now that we've had a chance for all of these announcements. Kind of the big ones are that, thank you all for being here. We appreciate you so much. One thing that we like to kind of stress in our open mics and any of our poetry events is that people are potentially sharing some like big shit. And we just kind of ask that you can take the lessons that you've learned in this space. You can take those, you can spread the lessons, but we do ask that you not share people's like private, intimate details with other people, / like walk up to them on a Tuesday and like ask them about their trauma in Walmart. That's for some people like to release their trauma, but not me. Personally, I do my trauma in Meyer, aisle 7 specifically, but you know, if that's not your vibe, it's not your vibe. And then also just some of our poets might be nervous. This might be their first time reading in a while. So just kind of being patient with them. And I think those are all of our housekeeping rules, situations. Oh, yeah. Snap if you like something. You can shout if you like something. And that's kind of all I've got. I guess I'll manage the list, because I made a list. And for our list, I'm actually going to have Mitchel go first since he's in person.
Why don't you start?
Why don't I start?
Yeah, I don't have my piece up yet.
You're so professional. See it in all its glory. I guess I can read a poem or two. So I'm working on a larger collection right now for like my end of degree project, my thesis. It doesn't have a name yet because I refuse to give ProQuest my good titles. But the first poem I'm going to read, it's called The Antagonist in My Story. I've got like a couple of these different versions kind of floating around, but this is one of them. The antagonist in my story isn't always late to violin recitals or falling down flights of stairs. Sometimes she hovers above pregnancy tests in airport bathrooms with spider bites on her ankles, reaching for a glossy watermelon flesh so delicate it could carve door handles and headphones and ramen noodles on a shoulder blade that has never been beaten into loving her smile. I can hear the little snaps. I didn't know I would be able to hear them. See, this kind of the theme of the night, loose theme, right? New Year, same lies, because I lie to myself every year, just like I lie and think that the humidity is going to get better in the South in the winter, and it doesn't. So this is really an ode to my dehumidifier. But, you know, because I'm a poet, I thought I should name it $50 and 2 hours later. But at some point, I need to add in a thing about Amazon in here. $50 and 2 hours later. I'm collecting the moisture in my apartment into a bucket, unsticking the green fuzz from the fibers in my baking basket. I hadn't noticed the color around the baseboards until I hunted for a spider. It's hard to throw away dentist pens and paper clips and PowerPoints on reciprocity. I am not the guide for every traveler of loss. Sometimes I fake interview important people, ask them where they've been keeping Jimmy Hoffa and my father. Everybody's got a theory about making love. I've loved a man enough to know I'd rather not. At least my hair still grows. Underneath the dye, there is a gremlin squishing around, a constant zapping. I'd ask him to dinner, but he's busy on Tuesdays. And then I've got one more poem. This one is titled, actually it's untitled. I have to figure this one out later. But here's my last untitled piece. And then Mitchel, you're on deck, just so you know. I perform forgiveness like a sentimental chameleon. Jaw slapped open, scratching my throat with over-sharpened permanence, making silk sliceable to the gaze of anyone stupid enough to teach a capital I to dance. Accidental violence borrows my spine for a calculated tearing above the word hurrah. Oh my God, thank you. Mitchel, it is your time. It is your time to shine.
Yes, I am.
I will introduce him, I guess. I should introduce you?
Sure.
Mitchel is one of those people that once you meet him, you can't live your life the same, for better or for worse, but usually for better. But no, seriously, Mitchel is a fantastic poet, and I think one of my favorite things about Mitchel is just like a human being and all of this kind of like work that he's doing in the community is that he can really see the best in people and really kind of give them the confidence to see the best in themselves. And so I'm always really excited whenever we kind of get to hang out and do poetry stuff together, especially when we can kind of get a lot of other voices involved. But that's my really nice thing to say about Mitchel. And I would say no other mean things before his poem.
Well, thank you. That's too nice, especially because I didn't give you an introduction this time. You always yell at me for it. So, okay, we have a couple of things going on. Like I said, my focus has been on Blueberry Jam, so I'm going to read a couple of the pieces from there. And yeah, and so this is the first unnamed piece. I, party and voice, calling for indoctrination in tyrannizing forum, parents and community, uneducated, uninformed, bigoted annoyances, eye-rolling, hand-wringing failure to indoctrinate, removing and replacing histrionic, elitist, and bureaucratic authority. Perform with opinion and covert agenda to indoctrinate instead of educate, unethical to impose indoctrination of children, communications attempt to justify service, order to escalate indoctrination of children, unfortunate position in defense of children when all concern should be focusing on polarized climate. Children are pawns, raised and reared by the politicization and weaponization of a blessing, incrementally and systematically replace system. We are children. Addressing him or her on articles of embarkation, nature of indoctrination, no school is exempt from this. Education aware of gung-ho, all hands on deck, perpetuation of indoctrination, not unacceptable. Future correspondence, though, details lists of which are unacceptable. Race, Black, education, anti-racism, diversity, equity, inclusion, climate change, LGBTQ agenda, sex education, non-binary gender, transgender, use of pronouns, use of bathrooms, boys in sports, social justice, intersectionality, white privilege, white fragility. Oppose these. They cannot speak out against indoctrination, cancel culture, condition children to hate, abusive and destructive. And I will read, oh yeah, I'll read this one. So this is part 2 of Concerns, Mince, Words. Man, old man, meek, not speaking, but obligated, need God, he said. Issue dead, give up. God inscribed, God found, rights derived from sacred creator, a race, history, fact. Earliest settlers seeking freedom, a religious myth. War is my favorite book. Lament circumstances of the time. War is, have it or not, explicitly locked in spiritual weapons. Hang heads in despair. Much more here. Pray, consider dedicating mourning, fasting, prayer. Speak strong, urge extreme. First, Lord, be prepared, words beyond reproach, seasoned, rooted of the gospel. Believe rhetoric alone. Fail God, brought man hands. God allowed us vessels malign. Knowledge of God take captive. Make obedient, false teaching, God infiltrating. You not concerned. You answer, you say we need fear. Power raised Christ from the dead. Power interceding words. Be afraid, fight. Study battle, 7th day. Blow horn, ram's horn important. Horn sounded, announce jubilee, inheritance return. God restoring inheritance. God's hand, stratagem and cleverness take force. Engage in siege warfare. God targets to make a point. I don't want you to trust in yourselves. Trust in and obey a juggernaut. Step out in faith. I'm God. Trust God. Ridicule endured. Misgivings had. Speak out, ram's horn. Spread word amongst our community. March in faith. Never respect.
I have never heard those, and I love them. I have told Alejandro that he's going next. So when he's got a hot second, if he wants to unmute his video, he should be good. And then if you could change it on your screen, Mitchell, so that it's the speaker view, that'd be grand.
Is that not what's happening?
No, I can see the little baby photo of you, and you're so cute.
Oh no. Okay, I don't know how to do this. Do you know how to do this? Do I know how to do this?
Alejandro, can you try speaking? You're good now. You're up on the right screen.
Are you good?
Okay. I didn't. I okay. So yeah. This is a piece called Funny Story. I've only ever seen my mother call the police once. In the late aughts, and her Facebook was hacked, and unsure of what to do, she dials 911. And at the door, I remember a blonde officer stares at my grade schooler haircut, peeking from behind a banister. I tell her I want for my mother to hold me, and I remember it. Memories like so many stag beetles pinned to a wall. My roommate tells me they accept every friend request they receive, unless they're really creepy. My mother keeps a collection of friend requests from her mother. I think I will start my own gallery of still life. I find a stag beetle, precious and dead, iridescent, and legs tangled in my carpet. I rest it in my palm and whisper, I am no one I've ever wanted to be. Okay, and I don't know, I too enjoy indulging in the act of lying to myself every day. Very fun, you should try it. This next piece is called I'm Writing Towards a Love in the Past, Present, Future. Last year, I heard you were doing fine, okay, I'll admit. The other day, I heard a couple years back, I was crying over you. Farther back, we were together, waking, falling asleep. Are you doing better? Waking like before a funeral. I was doing fine, okay. I'll say a month. Before you leave Paris, I'm on a plane. The floor leaves me once, twice, waking. I think of the first time I whispered in your ear, like, let's say, I send a message to my mother. There was some turbulence. I love you. I think to let you know I love you. I will say it and understand now. I'm writing towards you. Can you feel it? Got one last one here. This is called Some Days I Think the Earth is a Hole in God's Heart. One night, a mountainside split the seafloor from the sky like an arrow's edge. This has remained the case. The constellations tethered to the trees. The reason starfish wash up on shore. The reason I fry plantains the way my grandmother was taught. An owl watches the moon watch the shape of an owl's eyes. I burn the recipe in the kitchen and call for birthright in the smoke. The way an albatross is known to trade its homeland for the sea. This is before they learn. Water is only a starving mouth. The origin of things, the waves, fingers caught reaching through the mesh of the ocean's weaving, that the net would look down upon the fish and ask why they remain so still.
Oh my God. First of all, those poems are absolutely gorgeous. Second of all, I have never heard them, and I'm kind of jelly that I've never heard them. Third of all, Nycki is up whenever Nycki is ready. And while we're getting Nycki up to the stage, I realized I actually forgot to introduce Alejandro, and I'm a horrible human being. Alejandro is a very modest person, but don't let this fool you. He's an award-winning poet. And I think one of the things I've loved about seeing Alejandro's journey is kind of just like watching him grow up from like his first day in college and just how different he was and how just confident he has gotten. He doesn't have it right now, but he has been dyeing his hair all kinds of cool colors lately, and they've been wonderful and stunning in each shade. And I know that was an important part of the introduction with this beautiful pink lighting he's got going on, but like Alejandro is stunning and just, I love him so much. And Mitchel, since you're present, if you would love to introduce Nycki, that'd be also wonderful.
Yes. Nycki has been one of our lovely individuals that has been coming more and more to our events and a huge supporter. And so Nycki, thank you for being here. And we absolutely love seeing your face and being here, even if it's behind a mask most of the time. And it's been lovely. And like I said, we love our, repeat individuals. And Nycki, thank you so much for being here. And please.
Oh, I don't have anything to hide behind this time, which is slightly problematic because I need to.
Oh.
I want to say a couple of things before I start this. One, I need to tell you it was written in June of 2020, and the reason I need to tell you that will become apparent as I read. And when I write, it isn't always me in my head. I don't know if anybody else has that problem. And so when this came to me, it was honestly, it should be rap lyrics. And it also didn't have a title for a very long time. But it has since been named Happy Birthday, Tom Morello, or 2020 in the Nut House. Both make sense in my head, which is where it's important. Flint's still got poison flowing on tap. Motown's on top with uranium and toxic crap. Added to that, unmasked viral attack in the air. But bullies with guns are screaming and stunned, asking, why can't I just cut my hair? Triggered snowflake bums in the state house with guns, shouting that it just isn't fair. And the rich keep getting richer while the poor keep getting sicker, and the black are just game for the blue. They say there's riots in the streets because they fear a tool for peace, a plea to leash police, to stop them acting like beasts in our parks, homes, and streets. The press attacks free press and tells the white guard repress the right to protest the mess that he made. Rights to arms make the grade when rights to assembly degrade. And now we've all just been played by the fascist upgrade to the American flag. No justice, no peace till the racist disease. Qualified immunity isn't fair trade for badge, blade, or knee. Rise to your feet for the phrase of the day, full accountability for your acts or inaction. The house on the hill leads the faction to maim and to kill. Mass media's distraction for ratings, never abating, keep getting refresh for thrill that keeps the world hating. The schools are shut down and each DC clown claims defunding education, vouchers and privatization, dumbing down a nation will save the economy. And the rich keep getting richer while the poor keep getting sicker, and the black are just game for the blue. They say there's riots in the streets because they fear a tool for peace. A plea to leash police to stop them acting like beasts in our parks, homes, and streets. Witless protection for fake insurrection, evolution, not revolution. You're the cause of the problem, we the people the solution. Rise up on your feet, push back against hate at the hands of the state. A call to arms caused the harm in the first place. You don't feel outraged when murderers get paid, but a child in a cage dying in vain doesn't bother you. Rise up. This is a call to your feet. Racist refrains the elitists proclaim, my life matters too. Co-opted your God for a photo op, text of your prophet used as a prop. Bone spurs are not calling the shots. Nations enlisted in a draft they can't dodge. Natives get restless, depressed, their lands repossessed by big oil and big biz. He's convinced that it's his, and the rich keep getting richer while the poor keep getting sicker. And the black are just game for the blue. They say there's riots in the streets because they fear a tool for peace, a plea to leash police to stop them acting like beasts in our homes, parks, and streets. Harvard guitarist, political artist, speaks for the silent who've been hit the hardest. Trolls say, shut up, you can't be that smart. While bulls on parade march on establishment slaying. Your silence is compliance, we're just getting started. The issue bipartisan, strange fruit from the roots of undead racist garbage. Rise to your feet, free reign to speak upon this nation was founded, but it ain't your hate speech. So now you're astounded that lives that you've actively fought to displace, defended by all under the calls of grace from all creeds, nations, and races, are no longer afraid to say to your faces that this is our country and we're outlawing racists. I have stuff that's a little more in line with the the theme of the evening. But I'd like to thank you for helping me figure out my identity as white girl rage poet. Let's see if I can. But new year, same lies. I have something, this one's much shorter. And it's called labor shortage. Unwillingness to train or pay to retain. Gatekeeping required and desired list bordering insane. Tick all our boxes, plus bring some more. Know our policies and procedures. Hey, there's the door. Unpaid internships for who can afford it, while record profits reported by corporate. Whining and crying about a labor shortage. Fair living wage? Nah, we can't support it. I'll give you one more line and then I need a break. There's a repeat if you have seen it before, heard it before. Still true. Student loan. Sick as hell, tired of being resilient, smart as well, but it ain't about brilliance. Educated, demonstrated, liberated, promise. Campaign trail claiming they were on this. Head of state inaugurated, bald drop as soon as stage vacated. PhD funked adjunct, living out the car trunk. Default assault, result, sleeping on the asphalt. Ticket to the middle class, huh, tossed out on your ass, ain't no recourse, limited resource. Incorporated bailout, too big to fail now, isn't interest astronomical, payback impossible, make it rain mad cash on compounded principle. Liberal conservative clash, wolves reign invincible, sitting back relaxed on the dime of the impoverished, dollar signs in their eyes saying, hey, you signed on for this.
Oh my God, you couldn't see, but like I was snapping just consistently. Also, these rhymes, come on now, we got a rhymologist amongst us. I'm supposed to introduce Kat right here, who's in my desk chair. So I have the pleasure of knowing Kat specifically through our program that we're both in here down at North Carolina. And I was trying to think of a good introduction for Kat because I'm notoriously bad at them. And I'm trying to think of my favorite thing about Kat, which is that, politely put, whenever I want to be up to some bullshit, Kat is always like, yes, let's do it. Whether that means we'll be watching like a musical way too loud and annoying my neighbors, or really just breaking down every systemic issue that's wrong with the world. Kat is always like, yes, I am down, and there are usually coffee and carbs involved. So that's my beautiful introduction of you. I hope that was suitable.
Scooch.
The floor is unleveled.
It is. Thank you for that lovely introduction, my friend. I'll start with a piece that I've been kind of reworking and haven't really read to a public, I guess. So it's titled The Youngest. Child of a man made of cement grains, of a woman built from rotting floorboards, is molded from shaking hands and decaying breath and floating tibias, held by flaking epidermis, raised by cleft nails and fervid whispers. Place them in bare-filled valleys with happy warriors. Watch if the child survives. Deem them pure, clean, a part of graciousness offered from God, but they will end up exhaust, full of holes, etched in, mangled, and oozing. So the second poem I'm going to read is titled I Love You. And this poem I think has come a really long way. So I love you. The first time tastes like dryer lint. The residue on my gums for weeks, in my cheek every time you say it so boldly, like the next 3 times. I nod, a gentle jerk, your sureness a bouquet I swore was wilting, so I hum a corkscrew smile as each carnation petal is laid in my lap, one by one, each an upward lip tilt, hand squeeze, kiss on my forehead, all filled the basin of my gut, unlike the fifth time, full of quiet and bull huff breath over the phone. You asked me to say it, to mean it. My throat constricts, a risen flame at your open affection, but my chest prickles out a mutter. A small iron shield becomes my tongue, but I lick my teeth, scrape my nails against my gum, rub my tongue against my cheek, and it makes a home in my mouth, and I let it. So this last poem, I also enjoy lying to myself on occasion, as the theme has it, usually through the lens of kind of what if questions. So this poem is titled Another Dead Dad Poem. If he still had breath, would he say things to me like the sky is on fire on extremely hot days, or ask what I think May smells like after it rains on my mother's birthday, or if I relate to the moon's loneliness on a late night drive to clear our minds, and he gives his small tooth grin. Maybe he'd wrap his arm around my shoulders and lightly squeeze a sprinkled path of sunlight into them on days when my teeth refuse to unclench themselves. Perhaps he'd slip away to the kitchen at midnight for a beer, sit at the table, grit his teeth, then release a sigh into the darkness of a mute room and question if his body is truly alive, and use the alcohol to flood the thought before falling asleep where he sat. He may spend all of his free time wondering why his skin is fading, why his legs are loose twine, chest tight knots, and lungs unanchored, why death has decided to court him in such a cross-stitched way. He might whisper in my ear that I was bred to be alone, to be a product of abandonment, tell me that years of anger is the same as harvesting grief, and grab my shaking hands, lead me to the wall that is already full of holes that he put there, and encourage me to add my own. But he is dust, a wisp of a grin that I think of when the moon offers its lonely. Thank you.
Hi, I returned. Holy shit. I don't know if that's technically the right thing I'm supposed to say as a host when people get done reading, but I think it's the most appropriate reaction to 99% of poems is oh shit. And I am as someone selfishly of someone who's seen some of these poems and not seen some of these poems, but that's just my own selfish reaction. Also, you all couldn't see it, but throughout like the night, Alejandro has been like reacting in Zoom with like his little hands. And it's so precious, but you all don't get a chance to see that. Thank you for coming. And dude, you all are great freaking poets. If anyone has ever told you you're not a great writer, they completely lied to you, everyone. Know that you heard it first. The Poetics Lab believes in you. New year, same overwhelming positivity. I'm going to stop the recording now unless anyone else would like to read. I forgot to invite if anyone else would like to read.
Anybody? Yeah, if you have another one.
Oh, please.
Yes, if you want, Nycki, if you want to come back up and go ahead and read. Does Kat or Alejandro also?
I will ask the room.
And Nycki, whenever you are set too.
That's slippery.
It's a little slippery, yeah.
And mine for you. I'm short. And New Year, same lies. Master's degree. Look at this liberal arts master's degree, hung on the wall for all to see, a little battered from bureaucracy. Subtle reminder to be proud of me. They said it taught me to think critically, told us great jobs were an inevitability because businesses surely will value creativity. Behold this luxury priced master's degree hidden away for lack of utility. You see, it's not science, math, engineering, or technology, but arts, education, and humanities. Use it now to help build back the economy. Start right here in fast food and hospitality.
Have you ever listened to Avenue Q?
I love Avenue Q.
It's so good. There's
So
if
good.
any of you haven't listened to it, it's like R-rated Muppets.
Sesame Street on drugs.
Yeah, and it's absolutely fantastic. There's a song called "What Do You Do" with a BA in English, and as a person with a pseudo BA in English, I resonate. So.
I'm gonna give this one to you again. It's very funny. A friend of mine actually sent me a job ad today. And so the first place I looked is under the required thing. And of course, DI initiatives and all that fun stuff. So every time you look at one of these advertisements for jobs, especially in higher education, you see something like this. And I quote, "In the applicant documents section of this application, please provide an inclusive excellence statement describing how you would contribute to the development of a diverse and inclusive learning community at blank state university through your teaching, research, and or service." Pardon the intrusion. You seem to harbor the illusion that equity and inclusion are integral to your institution, but chill a tick and listen, because your diversity mission has been a delusion, and what you call normative is merely performative. Asking for statements while your towers and basements filled with sexists, asbestosts, and racists in need of abatement, not hidden, not blatant, but wait, who? You were the gateman. How many labeled disabled have an elite seat at the table in your executive C-suite? How many LGBT waving a pride flag just for the retweet? Now you're asking how I will fix shit in which you were complicit. Pass a pen. I'll show you just where to stick it. No, I'm not dumb, not academically impaired. I'll write it down. It ain't that I'm scared. I'll show you mine when every tenured cisgender white man shows me theirs. I am going to try to get through this in early 2020, yet again. We lost my mom not to COVID. She had stuff long before that. But also doesn't have a name. Mama's funeral? No, we still ain't had that. We keep her ashes in the record cabinet. We had to leave her till the state could help release her. Cash for ash in the cardboard box to keep her. Couldn't spring her quick because we had to make rent. And she'd surely haunt our asses if her memorial were a super spreader event. Delta comes running and we're postponing again. Wait, Omicron and on and on. And damn, I miss my mom. And can you please stop that song? It hurts just to hear it. Janice and Stevie, both Nix and Ray Vaughn, are tied to her spirit. Rose was a bassist, and if you showed up at her place, you were guaranteed music, coffee, and grace, and of course, conversation. Sometimes just a station to hang your hat and take a beat until you were back on your feet and off to your next destination. And we want to celebrate her, but we can't just yet. Except on the daily when you talk to the woman in the record cabinet.
I guess I talked and Alejandro and Kat said they thank you for letting them read, but they don't have any more poems for us. I've got one more poem I guess I could read. I'm working on the series right now. And because it's the theme of New Year's, same lies, sometimes I like to lie to myself and say that I'm over things. LOL, nope. And so I'm trying to work through some stuff. So I work through it in poems. And here is the poem, Sequence Situation. Mama T and father harmonize panic and absence till avoidance raises someone to be proud of. Safety patrol vests, prom photos, birthday calls, a spark of joy leaching off hyperactive neurons. Mama T and father are black-kneed and acne snot-nosed bastards flinging their bodies through wood chip piles and Jolly Ranchers, not cinder-hungry picture frames hiding in basement Tupperware, contained love on rusted spoons. Mama T and father catch fireflies in a glass jar, shake it up to confuse asylum for the body. Mama T and father could be decorative kiss lattice work crown with tiny barrettes and do-rags, gripping a heart to neckties, could be a fold-out telephone booth, door ajar, falsetto apology, curled wire connection with seasonal table mats, could be dusty sequin parents begging to sustain, and I wouldn't know the difference between existence and chronic conditions. Every palette of terror and deliverance has been the fatty meat of their faces collaged into mine. Paulette could be an alien's for a welcome home, and I wouldn't know how to phrase a salutation. Maybe a trilogy is made to reconcile, not extend. Mercy has never wanted to be a cappella, and yet it is and has been and will be someone's narrative to finish clicking tongue and gaped open for extra range. I think that concludes our poems for the evening. Am I correct in my thinking, Mitchell?
I do believe so. I do want to say thank you for everyone who came in today. It was lovely seeing everybody. It is a little bit different of a look in this space, and